Okay, we're recording.
We are recording. Okay, well, if that's the case, then hello everybody. My name is Eric Barclay, and I am accompanied by my fellow team members today, Shay, James, Jamie, and Adam, to talk to you a little bit about the company we selected to do our project on, which is Atlanta Mission. What we wanted to do is to investigate this company to basically understand who they are, what they do, who they service, and ultimately how they utilize information systems to support the overall business processes and the operations of the company. So before getting into that, however, we feel it's necessary to discuss a little bit of an overview of Atlanta Mission to create a little bit of context. So Atlanta Mission is one of the largest nonprofit providers of miscellaneous goods and services to those detrimentally affected by homelessness. Basically how they operate is they have employees who physically travel to where their clients are. And once they are there, they help supply them with not only basic supplies such as food, clothing, and maybe even shelter in some cases, but they also offer various life skills classes. And I find this part particularly interesting because they not only equip them with the physical goods to keep them going kind of, but they make it a strong point to tackle the mental aspect of it. And I think that arguably the mental part of homelessness is way more important because, it can kind of turn into, a mindset or a way of life with some of these people. And that mindset needs to be somewhat changed or altered. So because Atlanta Mission is a nonprofit, they're heavily reliant on donated goods and services and overall contributions from donors. As you can see on the next slide, there are several categories used, such as total support and revenues of sales of donated, purchased, and crafted goods, interest and dividend income, and program-related income. But at the end of the day, donated goods and services, as well as overall contributions, comprise the majority of the total support and revenues in fiscal year 2019. So in terms of donated goods, Atlanta Mission has has business relationships with many different, retailers in their surrounding communities, such as grocery stores, retail chains, who ultimately donate food and clothing if there's overstock. There are also arrangements in place where these same products are made available to Atlanta Mission at a discounted rate. So this is a pretty mutually beneficial agreement as, Atlanta Mission is getting the products that they need to satisfy their downstream customers, while the retailers are getting some good publicity here by partnering with an organization to combat homelessness. And lastly, so Atlanta Mission has made it known to key stakeholders within the organization that if there are no donors, there's basically no organization. So with this in mind, the company tailors a lot of its marketing strategies toward appealing to these individuals, but they also utilize information systems in order to track and entice future donors toward contributing toward the cause. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about this in this presentation, as well as business processes being used and ultimately how it connects to the information systems. And then finally, we're going to finish off with some information pertaining to the lessons that we learned from this project and any potential recommendations for the future. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand this off to Jamie, who's going to talk a little bit about the business processes used for Atlanta Mission.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Good day. The focal business processes of Atlanta Mission is providing shelter, rehabilitation, and recovery services to those in need. The resources available through Atlanta Mission includes food, shelter, clothing, in addition to services like counseling, addiction recovery, and life skill classes. In order to receive assistance, individuals requesting help are placed into the organization's internal system. Once in the system, rehabilitation and recovery services can be provided through a multitude of avenues. The system also allows for the proper allocation of resources and volunteers in order to operate at maximum efficiency. In order to provide the necessary services, donors and volunteers are crucial. Atlanta Mission is certified 501(c), making it 100% privately funded. In order to raise the revenue necessary to operate the various services, donations are required. Present and future donors are captured in the organization's CRM system in an effort to maintain and create a relationship. This relationship is established through marketing efforts and events. The CRM system also helps strategically target individuals and companies with the goals of capturing monetary donations, but the system is also not limited to monetary donations. Through the organization's thrift store operations, information is captured as a method to understand who donors are, what items are being captured and donated for tax purposes, and what items are being sold. This helps to understand spending and donation trends. But just as important as donors, volunteers play a critical role in the operation of the Atlanta Mission. Volunteers assist with events, fundraisers, and offering of their time. There are even situations where career opportunities can be offered through volunteer relationships. Using the CRM system to identify volunteers and what they can offer helps operations tremendously. Also using the system to establish schedules for those who are looking to volunteer and understanding where their skill sets will be most utilized is also important. Overall, Atlanta Mission uses technology to support and maintain their relationships. Being able to track marketing, campaigns, revenue, volunteer, donor lists, in addition to service providers available through the organization is at the heart of operations. The evidence of its efficiency is seen through the performance metrics. Over $20 million raised, 6,000 people served, 240,000 beds provided, 600,000 meals, and 3,500 social worker appointments with over 3,000 vocational classes taught in the year of 2019.
Technology has been the backbone for Atlanta Mission, and their use of technology to support their business process has allowed Atlanta Mission to expand their operations. When it comes to customer relationship management, it's important for Atlanta Mission to track donations and volunteers through Volunteer Hub and Classy for their event coordination. The CRM also allows them to datify their operations, and that goes all the way through inbound and outbound logistics, marketing and sales, even services. And by tracking their data, this allows them to customize marketing strategies and thus build revenue. Also, it's very important for Atlanta Mission to be secure, stable, sustainable, and scalable. And that's where AWS comes in. So AWS infrastructure is used through functions such as Lambda and EC2 instances to effectively and efficiently scale operations. This means that a server can be turned on and off through a Lambda function to cost optimize, and other AWS features include EC2 instances, CloudWatch, and CloudFront.
Okay, well then going into our lessons learned, obviously we got to learn all about Atlanta Mission during this project and the goals as an organization, as well as their business process and the systems and the strategies that they had in place to make that business process happen. You know, Atlanta Mission is known for this transformation process. It's a one-of-a-kind process that is unique to them. But as we got to learn more about Atlanta Mission as an organization, we learned that there's so much more that goes into that transformation process. Like we were talking about organizing and funneling their donors and their donations. They have thrift stores, they're having fundraisers, they're having to market these fundraisers. They also are organizing their volunteers, as well as they have employees and an organization or a business within their organization. So there's a lot that goes into that. And when we look at that, it's relationships is at the focal of that business process. And so we learned how their CRM and the implementation of their CRM really was a game changer for Atlanta Mission and allowed them to really streamline all their business processes and, you know, be able to document the transformational process, process their volunteers and organize them and donations and just everything that was a part of their business process. The CRM allowed them to streamline that. And honestly, the CRM has become like a central hub for Atlanta Mission. And we just learned how these softwares, these IT softwares are put in place to really benefit these businesses and kind of create that hub for everything to go through, because now everyone in Atlanta Mission has a place, the employees have a place to track and analyze and document everything that's going on. And then another really big thing we learned during this project is that, you know, the pandemic has had a really big effect on their business process and the supply chain, and getting donors as well as donations and the supplies they receive, their volunteer, just the outreach in general has been really affected by the pandemic. And I think we all know business has been affected in general, but to see, you know, to do this project during such a crazy one-of-a-kind time during this pandemic, we learned how these real life things are really affecting not only businesses but organizations like Atlanta Mission. And that has kind of caused us to have some recommendations for the future of Atlanta Mission and where they can go forward from this, especially during such a crazy time.
We have some recommendations based on our research, but and in our time with Atlanta Mission that I think if we're able to implement will really make a huge improvement in what they're able to do in their future efficiencies. The first one is they really have a huge need for an IT infrastructure overhaul at Atlanta Mission. And what we're talking about there would be new client computers, new staff computers, new network hardware, new Wi-Fi routers. So like a lot of nonprofits, Atlanta Mission is on a very tight budget. So a lot of these systems for them are aging out, and they're starting to have more and more issues with them. For instance, their client computers are anywhere from 7, 8 to 9 years plus. We're spending a lot of time resetting those computers. The staff are constantly having to work on these computers and fix little issues here and there, so it takes up a lot of time for staff. Another major issue the Atlanta Mission is dealing with is with the old networks and switches. Because they are reaching the end of their life, it's relatively frequent that a network is going down and causing a sole outage across one of the campuses. So through our research, we found out that roughly once a month, one of the campuses is going down due to an IT infrastructure failure, which is a real cost efficiency issue for Atlanta Mission. And even though the IT infrastructure is a big investment to overhaul this, we think that it would actually pay for itself in a short amount of time because of the amount of time they're losing with staff not being able to do their jobs, and also just efficiency with having slower computers and doing that. So if you take somebody, for instance, with a $50,000 salary, you have 12 hours of downtime, you multiply that for roughly the 20 staff that are on campus, like you're reaching a roughly $76,000 you're paying just in downtime there for staff that aren't able to do what they're able to do. So even if an IT infrastructure overhaul costs $100,000, it's going to pay for itself in less than 2 years. Another thing that we noticed with Atlanta Mission in our research was that they're having some issues with reporting in their client database, which is obviously huge for them because everything they're doing centers around their client database and their client data. Their client database is over 6 years old now, and it's a very customized Salesforce system. And more because of the pivots they've had to make for COVID and the unique learnings they've figured out through working with their clients, that the changes they've made over the database over time are not sustainable to be able to easily report and track. So they're having more and more issues with that. So I really think a new system that's custom developed for their use case would have a really big effect on what they're doing there and their ability to easily report out to both their internal staff and also to track their client progress, and then also to donors and volunteers as well to see the impact they're really making. Another recommendation for us for Atlanta Mission would be to create a donor and volunteer portal that would provide an easy way for supporters of Atlanta Mission to track their impact. So currently you get your receipt for a donation or you get a thank you for volunteering, but you might not necessarily receive like your overall impact for the organization. So somebody who's been volunteering year over year over year, like they might not know the overall impact of what they're doing. So if we had one portal, they were able to log in and see like, hey, throughout my donations over this many years, I've been able to provide this many meals. Throughout this volunteering, I've been able to provide vocational training for this many people. Here's maybe even some feel-good stories about where they are now. I really think that could have a great impact on the people who engage with Atlanta Mission and to provide some value to them as well. Also, just really for the ease of use. So having one place to log in and to be able to quickly print out your receipts if you want, or to make a change to your monthly donation, to reach out to staff to get some feedback. If you want to volunteer, if you have some questions, it'd be an easy way to do that as well. So I really think that would be a great improvement for them. So that's the end of our presentation. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. Thanks, y'all. We appreciate it.